Hi, this is Danny Sanders with AntlerXtreme, and I'm here with David Driggers with ADM. And ADM is who manufactures our feed for us. And we've got some exciting news about some new ingredients that we've added to our feed to try to help you as a deer manager grow a better whitetail. And David's here to kind of walk us through the benefits and you know what this helps when you growing a better deer and you know using AntlerXtreme. David, I guess we'll start it off with thermal care. What do you think are the benefits of thermal care? What's that helping us?
Well, the ADM Thermal Care is a very exciting product. I've been involved with that product for many, many years. We've done our initial research with dairy cattle, and so that's when I really got excited about the product, because we could see a definite decrease in body temperature by feeding the product to dairy cattle. And so on the dairy cattle side of it, so especially like when it's hot in the summertime, we see peak production of milk goes up. Cows are more comfortable, so it kind of relates over to any ruminant, and a deer's a ruminant. It's a vasodilator. It's made up of plant extracts, or calcium plant extracts, and some immune stimulants. And so we get a lot of benefit through vasodilation, and we also get response from the immune stimulators, that we have better appetites, the animal feels better. So all in all, we get more performance. And so being as that vasodilator, we get better blood flow. And so, you know, the antlers are full of blood vessels and corridors. And so we get more flow up to those areas, so we can get more nutrients there to grow better.
That's awesome. Yeah, when they're growing, when a deer's growing their antlers, you know, during the summer, it's like the fastest growing thing in nature.
Yep.
And the more blood you can get to them, the more nutrients you're getting to them, the better, you know, response you're going to get with growing.
Absolutely.
A better deer. I know that thermal care also has an ingredient in it called citrustem. Could you tell us about that? So
citrustem is in the ADM thermal care, and that was the stimulating part I was talking about. So it's a whole yeast product that we come up with, and it's really unique because we get a lot of immune response for that, but we also get a benefit in the gut. And so what it does, it kind of gathers pathogens that are in the gut and takes it out of the body. So we get a lot of benefit from their animals feeling better, not getting sick or anything like that. So with the citrustem, we also get, you know, better appetites. They'll eat more, and just better well-being of the animal.
What I've read about it is and I guess this plays in the same thing, but in layman's terms, it kind of gets the bad bacteria.
Yep. That's
in a deer's stomach.
That's right.
And doesn't allow it to attach to the stomach wall.
Absolutely.
And they're defecating it out the back.
That's right.
That is awesome. A couple of other things that I want to go over is we've added a formulation this year, teamed with ADM and Safeguard to add Safeguard wormer to our feed, which is super exciting to me. And it's you don't keep it in there. You feed it, you know, once or twice a year, spring, fall, and tell us a little more about that.
So we've been offering Safeguard and deer ration for a long, long time, and you see a huge benefit because deers are out in the wild. They're catching, you know, worms and other parasites through their grazing habits, and so by doing this worming twice a year, we kind of, you know, free the animal from parasites, so we do get higher production. And it's just a management tool that, you know, you need to use if you're wanting to go, you know, record racks.
That's awesome. That is awesome. We also, you know, one of the reasons that we have went with y'all with ADM is your checks and balances are just bar none as good as they get in the country. I mean, y'all do your own testing, the formulation. My customers now, I've had them, you know, I have multiple customers send our feed off to have it checked. We've also had the state come in here and check us, and it's come back better than the tag every time.
Yep. So we pride ourselves on quality control, and so we have extensive testing of ingredients, and it's not uncommon for us to refuse a load of ingredients, but they have to meet our specs and before they go in the mill. Not only do we have that check and balance going into our ingredients, but coming out the other side. So for every batch of feed that we make, we retain samples on those and test those products. And then we keep those retained samples for a year, just in case that we have a question come back on our feed. We can go back to our samples and say that this is what it tested and how we do that. And so not only that is our state-of-the-art facilities. Ingredients are measured just to the smallest immune amount. So it just makes for a better product when you have those quality control set.
That's awesome. I know another reason I chose y'all is the ability to make that micro pellet.
Yes.
And being a deer nut myself and feeding other feeds for 30 years now, I know them bigger pellets, I have a problem with them absorbing moisture, stopping my feeders up, not having the consistency or staying together like that micro pellet. Could you elaborate?
So there's a couple of benefits from the mini pellets. First of all, is what you're talking about, bridging and feeders and that stuff. So when we make a smaller pellet, we actually can make a harder pellet than we can the big ones, just because we have less surface to pack and we can get in there and really make a good solid pellet. So it does work in the feeders and that stuff. The other aspect of the smaller pellet is it's more what an animal would find in nature as far as a grain or whatever. It looks more like a natural food rather than a larger pellet, which was something that would be odd for them to eat.
That's awesome. We had really good success with that.
Yeah.
I like it. Another thing that is pretty much I don't know if anybody else is doing it right now, but with the AntlerXtreme, we flavor our feed with caramel flavoring, which I actually talked with a guy a nutritionist years ago and we were talking flavoring, and he had been a part of a group that did a huge flavoring testing for deer, and because we were having some problems with consumption, and he told me to try some caramel. Got on the phone, called everywhere I could find that had a caramel flavor, and y'all did. And with using the caramel, we have not had any consumption problems whatsoever anymore, as far as the deer taking to it.
Yeah, the flavor benefits, on deer consumption, and it does a couple of things. Ingredients change from one load to the other, not hugely, but they can. And so when you have those ingredient changes, it changes the flavor of the feed just a little bit. And so by adding that flavor into it, it's more consistent and the animal's used to it, and they'll just continue to eat regardless. Yeah.
Speaking of like flavoring changes, I know that with AntlerXtreme, we use a fixed ration.
That's right.
We never change it. It's from, we add stuff to try to make it better, but we never, I do know there are other companies out there that use what I guess is called low-cost formulation,
yeah.
Which if an ingredient is cheaper than this ingredient in this batch, they'll swap them up, and it's about, of course, it's about making money and cost efficiency, but we're never going to change rations. And what do you think of the benefits?
Well, I mean, the biggest benefit of a fixed ration is the product never changes. So there's a huge swing in flavors and the ability of the animal to eat a product just based on the ingredient itself. And so when you have those changes, it makes the deer back up for a few days and not consume. And so that's not what we want to do in the high production time of the year. We sure don't want them backing up. We want them eating every single day.
Speaking of fixed rations, I know that AntlerXtreme, looking at everybody's tags in the deer feed industry, I'm just a nut about studying it. But I do believe we have the highest amount of chelated vitamins and minerals in the country. And I'd like you to elaborate on how important vitamins and minerals are.
Well, I think the average person, whether it's livestock, deer, or whatever, doesn't realize the importance of vitamins and minerals in our rations, and especially when it comes to deer, because we have feeding cycles, and most people want to feed deer, you know, right before they start growing antlers, and you know, and that's all fine and well. But what they don't realize is what happens to the cycle of vitamins inside the animal. Especially one that comes to mind is vitamin A. During dry summers and dry falls, or you know, or when we have an early frost and the deer doesn't have green grass to eat, they have no source of vitamin A. They convert vitamin A in grasses, so when that goes away, they don't have it, and so they're sitting there being depleted consistently until you start feeding them again. And not only that, it's every vitamins and mineral. When we look at calcium and phosphorus, vitamin D, and especially vitamin E, you know, so when we have those off times, they're not getting it. So when we put them back on feed, it takes a few weeks for it to get back in their system, get absorbed, and start really doing what we want it to do. So, you know, in your case, you know, you have high vitamin levels. You use naturally sourced vitamin E, which is very, very important, and especially in deer rations. So they're very, very important. And if I could leave just a note, you know, is to keep in people's mind that maybe we need to start feeding a little bit earlier every year, just to make sure we get those vitamins and minerals back in those deer until, you know, before we expect them to start putting on racks.
Right. I think it, and just what I've seen, it's hugely important to you know, I don't know that it's not more important to be feeding late winter, you know, 1st of February through April is like, to spring green up is like one of the most important times of the year to get your healthy.
Yeah.
I actually had a deer breeder that we feed his place tell me one time that pedicle will sit there, you know, in early spring till that deer gets back healthy.
That's right.
Till he gets back, you know, weight back on him, boned it, you know, until they can get back the body healthy. Mm-hmm. It's going to delay them antlers from starting to, you know, take off and grow.
Yeah, and with the other vitamin that you know that you have chelated is vitamin zinc, and you know, so vitamin zinc is really, really important in multiple levels, in reproduction especially, but we have found that body condition correlates with the vitamin zinc. So, you know, coming out of the, you know, wintertime, you know, when we're trying to get the deer in peak condition and body weight, you know, vitamin zinc is very, very important. And so if they've been robbed, there again, it delays that animal getting back into full weight and production again.
David, I appreciate you coming down here this morning, spending some time with me. Your knowledge of feed and deer, cows, everything that eats feed is just so far above mine. And you know, how long have you been with ADM?
I actually went to work for Mormons in 1999, and then ADM acquired us, and I changed over to ADM then. So I've been in the feed industry since 1999.
Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot to learn in that amount of time, and I appreciate you being, you know, our area salesman. You've always worked with me great, and anything I've needed, you know, if I have a question, a problem, a concern, you know, you've always been just spot on in handling all of it.
Well, thank you.
Learned a great amount of knowledge from you. I sure appreciate it.
You're welcome.